Today, I want to talk wild psychopath.
With natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods, it's working for me.
It is. And if
you didn't have brain cancer.
Your neck is a vulnerable place. There's a lot of gives. When you're stressing, you'll see the veins on your neck. So the turtleneck is doing the PR work on her behalf.
It's all a big lie, anyway.
I'm really sorry.
But if you notice throughout her speech pattern, the inflection is not that high, but it's on those certain words where she's under a little bit of duress.
It was a box, and that machine was apparently German technology.
Today, can absorb some of their skill in the subtle art of lying. Hello. The palette of human characteristics are endless. The variety has been seen across so many different characteristics across our lives that there's so many different types of humans. Yet, for many generations, there has been one mental architecture, a specific archetype that we are all fascinated by. And that is the human psychopath. Today, can absorb some of their skill in the subtle art of lying. We can learn some of these magical tricks that psychopaths have used to lie expertly in some of the most grueling circumstances. And I'm going to be sharing one with you today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jasky, also known as Mr. Sick Cunt, Australia's #1 most popular street interviewer. So today I want to talk to you about a very, very interesting interview that took place on Australian TV on a show called 60 Minutes. And it's of a person called Belle Gibson. There was a Netflix documentary made about this person, this woman who admittedly is a wild psychopath because she lied to the world about having brain cancer and then used it to her benefit to amass a massive social audience at that time, Instagram, and then tried to sell to all her audience that she had figured out a way to overcome her cancer using natural methods. And it was all a lie. She never had brain cancer. And then this interview is that seminal interview when she had to face scrutiny, when it all unfolded and unraveled that she was fucking talking bullshit this whole time. And the interviewer presses her on a lot of the questions that people wanted asked. So let's watch some of it, and then we'll go through some insights on how she uses lying to her advantage and is an absolute fucking expert at it.
I've been really transparent.
So just for clarification, are you prepared to sign a statutory declaration to say that everything you tell me today is the truth?
Absolutely.
Now, first and foremost, before you have any impression of this person whatsoever, the first thing we want to try and assess here is the body language. Is called the reset expression. Now, talk about the entire body language here. It is set in a very neutral manner, right? No smile. The face is of someone that's just rebooting, pressed lips, and very careful control of her expressions. The shoulders and torso very rigid. Her eyes are open, a little bit lifted. Her eyebrows are slightly lifted, but the eyes are focused attentively at the interviewer. Everything is completely neutral. And the reason it's called a reset is to put everything into control that you can, because the questions and what's coming in this next, 60 minutes or so is not going to be under control. The only thing you can control is what you can control. And she is putting everything into neutral. And typically, this kind of body language indicates that she is trying to showcase that there is no tension. And how can I minimize showcasing any sort of tension? Because potentially lying is on its way, and that is to have a complete reset expression. So let me summarize. The reset expression, but you look at the eyes, very neutral, lips, no upward, no downward motion, very straight, eyebrows slightly upwards, open, eyes wide, staring directly at the interviewer, shoulders back, very rigid, straight posture, And nothing, no fucking movement, straight, very, very rigid, controlled body language. When we are not controlled, that is when there are giveaways for someone who can read body language. Now, I do have to say, and I hate to, throw shade here, but I don't know why she is dressed as Steve Jobs Barbie. Like if they made a Barbie out of Steve Jobs, it would look something like this. Now, the turtleneck makes complete sense. Again, a strategic method of covering whatever you can cover. Your neck is a vulnerable place. There's a lot of gives, certain, when you're stressing, you'll see the veins on your neck. When, you're having excessive breathing through your neck, it's visible. So why not fucking cover it up? Cover up what you can. Obviously, you can't cover up your face because then completely lying. I also understand the pink. The pink is to exude some level of warmth. It's not a boring, I'm here to be warm. I'm approachable. I'm, nice and friendly. It's vibrant. So the turtleneck is doing the PR work on her behalf. But yeah, body language, very neutral. Let's play back the start again.
Truth today, the whole truth, no little
Absolutely.
half truth.
Now there, the entire expression when she is talking is to look very concerned, is to give you this feeling of, of course, yeah, definitely, soft tone. And she's chosen the soft tone because any sort of aggressive tone is a little bit, put someone on the defensive. She's trying to use every single tactic expertly up to this point to showcase that I'm likable, that I'm friendly, I'm approachable, I'm sympathetic to what's happened to all these people that have been potentially hurt by what she did.
No gobbledygook.
No, I've been really transparent.
So just for clarification, are you prepared to sign a truth's no gobbledygook? The truth.
No, I've been really transparent.
Now, here's another interesting give. Now, obviously, I'm talking about the methods that she uses to lie expertly, but let's just look at something that the body gives away secrets that your words typically don't. So let's just have a quick look.
I've been really transparent.
If you notice what she does when she says the word transparent,
Really transparent.
look at her eyes. Look at where her eyes are looking when she is saying the word transparent. And it's an automatic. She's trying her best to control every part of her body language, but your body will always give away signs. So when someone is trying to say, I've been really transparent, now she might have been looking at a light. There might have been movement up above. I'll give her that. But typically, when you are saying something that your body knows, typically psychopaths maybe don't get those internal feelings that we all do, normal people, but not saying that she's not normal. Anyway, I don't know why I've got so many caveats, but when she's using the word transparent and she's looking up, trying to avoid eye contact, there is a slight sign of nerves and your body notices, I cannot handle the tension of maintaining eye contact while I am expressing something that is a untruth.
So just for clarification, are you prepared to sign a statutory declaration to say that everything you tell me today is the truth?
Absolutely.
Again, absolutely. A very sympathetic, understanding, empathetic tone. Absolutely. It's how someone would communicate with a person if they feel their pain. She's trying to mirror feeling of someone's pain here. And you'll notice there's a similar pattern of doing this throughout the interview.
There's nothing left to lose. And if that requires a stat deck, then I'm comfortable with that. Requires a stat deck.
I love how she's even subtly said stat deck, like without actually rolling her eyes, but to try and make it look like, oh, you want me to sign a stat deck? There's a difference between, I have no problem signing a stat deck. I have no problem signing a stat deck, but stat deck, the kind of sarcastic delivery of those two words is very interesting. Is to try and disregard the importance of it. Whereas the interviewer is trying to set the precedence. by saying, I just want to ensure you're not going to lie, right? I just want to ensure you're not going to lie. I want to put you on the spot saying, are you going to sign a stat deck? Is to take that next step in this interview to set the precedent that I want to tell you that you shouldn't, that I want to make sure that you're not going to be lying, because everyone knows you have lied throughout your entire ascendancy in the world as a guru. Okay, let's continue.
Then I'm comfortable with that.
With natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods, it's working for me.
It is. And if
Except
any...
you didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
No.
But when I was writing that, I thought that I did, and I was feeling well.
Yes, but even then you misrepresented what you thought was your truth.
Okay, so this is going to be one of the most interesting points that I think you will start to see throughout this interview, but I want to highlight it here because every single time it comes up, it is very, very interesting to catch. And it is one of the greatest ways that liars use the I believe method as their escape hatch, right? When someone is forced with a fact, they question with some sort of logic. Instead of saying, I did this or this happened, they will say, I believed this or I was told this. It is a method to dodge accountability without technically lying. And she does it incredibly well, is to use belief and shifts the frame from intentional to accidental. Oh, I believe that's what was happening. I was misled. I was confused. I was a little bit dumb. I was naive. I misunderstood the situation. And it turns the lie into an oops. It's a pretty big oops to believe you had fucking brain tumor, but it's kind of like a vulnerability instead of deceit. And what it really does is it puts the interviewer, the questioner, on their back, because they puts the burden back on them, is what I'm trying to say. Is if the questioner is trying to ask a question and they're saying, well, that's what I believed, and then it can kind of look insensitive. Now you're challenging someone's belief. You're dismissive of what they were feeling at the time. And it's an expert tactic to twist logic and facts and sway it into, well, that's what I believed. I was believing that. I thought that was true. It's kind of when people say God came down, God had this visitation, God showed me that I saw the light, and I had this transcendental moment, but I believed it. So now you're going to be that insensitive prick to go, fuck, you're stupid, because then logic is out the door, facts are out the door, because you are now dealing with someone's belief. It's like creating a moral loophole. So, in their mind, they believed it. They weren't lying. They were simply believing something wrong. So she does it repeatedly, and she does it expertly.
It was all a big lie anyway.
I'm really sorry. And it hurts me, and I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me.
Look, even at that moment where I'm sorry, I really, really feel for the people that I've hurt. That whole using emotion to again break away from logic is another great tactic. And this is why it is so interesting to watch what someone who is essentially a pathological liar, the tactics that they use to get out of these situations where there's intense scrutiny and overwhelming emotion, saying, I'm so sorry, I cannot believe that I feel so bad that all of this happened, and I've lost everything. I have nothing left, so I have nothing to lose. Of course you have something to fucking lose. Why would you be doing this interview? Like, the logic is clear. It's like, you would not be doing this interview if you had anything to lose. You're only here to gain. You're not losing further from this interview. You're only trying to gain. But by overlaying a level of emotion here, overwhelming emotion and sympathy for the people that have been hurt, it takes away the logic and it lets you start to feel the emotion that this person wants you to feel to blur what you're thinking about them.
Went through a series of tests, and this was dubbed integrative medicine.
So he comes to your home and he does some tests on you?
He does.
What sort of tests?
It was a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. There's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back, and then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies.
And what was the result?
Again, I believed this. She's going to use it repeatedly. And again, you can't question it. It's like, I believed that this person was. So essentially what she's trying to explain, she's been questioned on the fact that, how the hell did you think you had a brain tumor? You know, this is a test that's conducted in a hospital by a qualified oncologist or some sort of medical professional. How was the test done? And the few things she mentions there is when the interviewer asks her what was the instrument that was used to conduct the test. First thing she says is a box. Now, if you scan back to any time in your life that you have had any sort of traumatic moment, and especially someone who is investigating you for potential tumor or a cancer diagnosis, it is a visceral feeling of some sort of sense. Oh, I felt this pain, this object was like, piercing my skin, and I was you start to have these overwhelming feelings, because the feelings come back with that are linked to that traumatic event. You typically don't describe the first thing as it was a box, right? And there's normally some level of indication that, oh yeah, I had these overwhelming moments. This person came in and they, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be. Typically the first expression is some sort of feeling, and then what are the sensations that took place? She's describing a box. That's the first thing that comes to her mind. Automatically, he signals some sort of alarm bells. Like, that's very inconsistent with someone's memory of a traumatic event. And then, secondly, to give it some level of authority and accreditation, she uses it was German technology, by saying German, because Germany is known to create, technologically advanced machines and products. So by saying German, okay, this must be reputable. This is not some bullshit quack technology to identify brain tumors or any sort of cancer. It's German technology. So a lot of weird things there. But again, she's using these methods to try and make her lie a little bit believable. Let me just play it back so you can see it. You can hear it again.
It was a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. There's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back, and then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies.
And again, you notice the upward inflection on frequencies. That upward inflection is always doubt, tension, nervousness. When you're nervous with someone, is like, can I please get the water? Like, you're always going into a higher inflection.
What I believe or remember to be frequencies.
And what were the results?
He said to me that I had a stage 4 brain tumour.
First thing you'll notice is the feigning of emotions. She is an expert at making herself look incredibly sad.
And what were the results?
Look at that. This feigning of emotions.
He said to me that I had a stage 4 brain tumour.
To the point that it is believable. It could be true that she's feeling this pain, because it might be a painful moment regardless of whether she's lying or not. But the feigning of emotions, again, takes you away from the logic, because she's about to say something that's illogical. Most people don't believe it. But if you can overload it with emotions prior to stating that point, something you just, it just breaks your, again, logical processing of what's taken place, and it just takes you away from it to now hopefully believe something she's about to say. And then you will notice the upward inflection again when she mentions the word tumor.
And that I had approximately 4 months to live.
Wait, I've gone past
A stage 4 brain tumour.
tumor. Yeah, let's just keep playing.
And that I had approximately 4 months to live.
Why did you write in the foreword of your book that you got this information in your doctor's office, that you got this prognosis in your doctor's office?
Because I think that being open and telling people the way that it happened would not be understood.
Understood? Again, it's a lot of these upward inflections. It might be her normal speech pattern, but if you notice throughout her speech pattern, the inflection is not that high, but it's on those certain words where she is under a little bit of duress, feeling a little bit of tension, the inflection goes up. But the point here is that the question being posed to her is, in your book. Now, I haven't read the book. I'm just reading between the lines. What a perfect pun. Is she is being questioned on, in her book, she mentioned she got the diagnosis in a GP's office. But now she's explaining that this random guy with a box, German technology, came in and he verified it through some frequencies to tell her she had stage 4 brain cancer. The interviewer has gone back and now she is incredibly cornered by saying, well, you said in your book you were in a GP's office and now you're telling me he came to your house and did some German technology through this fucking box. The way she answers this is, again, very interesting.
Because I think that being open and telling people the way that it happened would not be understood.
Not be understood. So, again, it's such an interesting choice of how to handle this by saying it may be misunderstood. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say anything, but it's enough of a weird leeway to say that, okay, I kind of admit that the method of diagnosis I use is unconventional. I didn't want people to misunderstand that it wasn't the correct diagnosis. It doesn't, if you break through the logic, it makes no sense. But again, she says enough that you kind of go, okay, what you said makes some kind of sense.
And that people would be disappointed or angry for me.
She's commentating on what people are feeling, which makes it easier for people to be on her side. If she's being defensive, people go, fuck you, you lying bitch. Whereas here, she's like, well, I didn't want people to be angry because they were angry, right? And I didn't want people to be misunderstood. Again, it's the same method, belief. I didn't want people to misunderstand.
Not following what is the right way to go about this.
So you lied because you feared you wouldn't be believed. Is that what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying.
Well, can you be clearer on what you're saying? I mean, you were absolutely misleading, weren't you? You said a doctor gave you this terrible prognosis in his office. Now, you've just admitted that you didn't say it was at your home and it wasn't with a real doctor because you thought people would be disappointed in you.
No, I believed he was a real doctor.
So did you...
Exactly the same method. So it's, again, the most sophisticated way to lie without technically lying, by saying, I believed it. And I feel like the interviewer here completely fucked this up. The interviewer needed to let her speak. But she just put the words in her mouth, which took her off the hook. You had her at that moment saying, well, you said you got this from a GP's office. But instead, there was a guy who came to your house with a box, some German technology. And then she let her off the hook by putting the words in her mouth, by saying, well, you lied, and da-da-da. And that's, people already know that. People know she lied. But you want to drill back into the logic. You want to get back to the facts. You want to break down every single fact. Explain. So what You said it was a GP. What happened here? Instead of saying you lied, because we know she lied. There's no need for it. So the interviewer playing the card of just being, I want to put you on the spot and I want to grill you here because that's maybe what the viewers want. It's not what the viewers want. They want you to stay to the facts. Be fact checked. Because if she pulls it out to belief, it's hard to belief check. So again, expertly, she's maneuvered it by saying, I believed it. And we have no way to prove. How do you prove someone's belief is incorrect? You can't. It's something, that they can't defend.
Lie to be believed is the question.
I didn't see him in his doctor's office in Perth.
You didn't see him in his doctor's office ever because he doesn't have an office, does he?
No.
Again, prod the facts. The interviewer here missed a beat. Prod the facts, and it allows her to get away with it by saying, well, he didn't have an office, did he? Well, ask her. So why did you write that there was an office? Can you explain that? Why did you write you got it from the GP's office? Because there she has to use some of these methods. She can't say, I believe he had an office, because in that case, it doesn't make sense because he was at your house. You had her cornered and you let it slip.
No.
Right. You claimed also in your book that you underwent chemotherapy and radiotherapy for 2 months. True
Yep.
or false?
At the time,
True or false?
true, because at the time I believed I was having radiotherapy.
So, false.
Perfect. I believed I was having radiotherapy. Any moment she has to use the words I believe and her escape hatch to say these are things I believed, that's it. There's nothing you can do. So the only thing the interviewer has to do here is to bring it back to just pressing on the facts. You cannot go back into the belief because that's checkmate. She's taken you out of logic questioning, fact questioning. And she does it expertly, even though most people watching this, everyone watching this, you'd have to be an absolute fucking idiot to not know that she's lying. You kind of know. You'd bet your life savings on the fact that you know she's talking shit, but she's able to still maneuver it in a corner while she's stuck in a corner, knowing we know that she's lying, but still by using belief, the word belief. I believed it. All right, you believed it. There's nothing I can do.
I believed that I was having radiotherapy. When he gave me medication, I was told that it was oral chemotherapy, and I believed it. Very soon after I'd started this treatment here in Melbourne, I fell pregnant, and that was a huge catalyst for me.
In what way?
Because I thought, well, if I'm undergoing chemotherapy, then I don't want that to affect my pregnancy.
Oh, so you stopped the chemotherapy because you were pregnant?
I stopped the chemotherapy for various reasons. I didn't know.
Truth, Bill, truth.
Tara, I'm trying to draw on information.
No, don't draw on information. Just be honest.
I am being
Please be
honest with you.
I'm trying to be open to what you're saying, but you were just muddying the waters with every answer. You set up a guy who's some quack, you're now saying, as a conventional doctor, giving you conventional treatment that is not helping your brain tumours, so you leave it. That's what you set up in your book, right? You didn't write it as you've just told it to me. You didn't.
And again, here, interviewer here keeps missing the beats. Keeps missing. She's trying to be the mother, scolding a misbehaving child. That's where the interview is going, as opposed to providing the space, providing enough direction to prod, to provoke the answers that you want her to give. And that is only allowed by sticking to what she has said and asking for explanations on what she said. Why did she say these things? Why this plethora of lies over a decade? You want to get down to the details of why those lies took place. And unfortunately, the interview has gone on the path of, well, you're a liar and this and that, and trying to constantly keep, trying to showcase to the viewer that, hey, I am giving her a serious grilling here, as opposed to digging down on the facts, which would actually achieve a greater outcome And unfortunately, I feel like that has missed a beat. And it's allowed her the escape hatch that she wanted. This interview for Belle, I imagine, is just to provide enough misdirection, enough of a bit of a doubt, and the fact that she's come and faced this sort of questioning to make people believe, okay, maybe there's a slight, very, very minute chance that maybe she just believed what she said to everyone. And at the moment, the interviewer is giving her enough room for that to potentially take place.
Write at who this man was. You didn't write that he came to you in your home. You didn't write that the chemotherapy and radiotherapy you claim to have is not what most people would have. You didn't write it like that. You rewrote history.
I wrote 5 introductions to my book.
Okay, whose fault is it now?
It's nobody's fault.
Right.
But that is a very brief version of my story and my life.
Did you think to get this checked out?
Not really, not initially. I was devastated.
It just sounds like you chose to believe that you had cancer.
Nobody wants to live with the fear of a terminal illness or dying.
No, and nobody knows that better than people who actually live with that. And you didn't live with that. That's not what you had.
No, it's not, but I lived for years with the fear that I was dying. And that is horrible.
Where the interviewer positions it by saying, well, you did not have brain cancer, you did not have this diagnosis that you claim to the world that you did. She goes back and says, well, I believed I did. I lived. And then again, it's now using both techniques, the belief and then the emotional waterfall of saying, well, you don't know what it's like to live your life feeling like you are going to die at any time. It is whatever, like it's so overwhelming, you don't understand, And again, the emotional overwhelming with the fact that she keeps saying, I believed that is what I was having, allows her to step out of this line of questioning. And those techniques she consistently uses as her escape hatch very, very effectively.
And I'm still coming to terms with that. I can take that off my shoulders now.
Did you live in fear of being found out?
No, because I wasn't living in a space where I didn't know that this wasn't my reality.
Would you accept that you're a pathological liar?
No.
You're 23, right?
It's interesting. I feel like, look, in summary, the interviewer missed a number of beats. As I've mentioned a few times, there was a great opportunity to really, really prod into the facts of her story and get to the logic. But what Belle is doing here is to consistently move away from the logic. So the takeaways here are, by the time to get out of logic, if you are stuck in a corner, you're being scrutinized, you've been in a meeting, in a boardroom setting, you are face to face with your spouse, you're in a heated conversation with a friend, with whoever, right? And you feel like you are cornered. Doesn't necessarily mean you're lying, right? But you're just cornered, and you want either the time or you want just a couple of tactics to buy you enough leeway to then tackle the conversation away from being in a corner, being scrutinized. The method of using emotion to break the logic. You want to get away from, you want to have logic gaps. You want people to ignore the logic and again, move to emotions. And that is to say, this is what it felt like. I was experiencing, it was really, really difficult for me. There was moments that you wouldn't understand. Like, bring emotion into it. And again, it breaks part of the logic. Thick emotion when there's a thin story, right? So when there's a thin story, thick emotion. And the most sophisticated way of lying, if you are if you have to lie, I have to always preface it by saying you shouldn't lie. But to buy yourself time, it's I believe. The I believe method. I believed that was what was happening. I was naive. I was a little bit stupid. I was dumb. I cannot believe I was so dumb, but I was dumb. I believed it. Or even if it's not dumb, at that time, I just thought that was the case. That's what I was working with. Again, takes you away from, puts the burden back on the person questioning you. And body language only touched on briefly, but she uses the body language of someone who is so burdened by this. It's really affecting the person. No one is going to drill someone who looks visibly upset. She looks really overwhelmed by what's taking place. You know, it is the sad expression. It is the maintaining of very, very strong eye contact. And you see throughout this entire interview, even in moments where she's completely cornered, she still maintains a level of composure, which is credit to her, because there are moments where it gets pretty heavy and heated, and she's being scolded by the interviewer, but she still maintains that composure. So keeping composure, not letting your body language, start to showcase these signs, which is the slouching of your shoulders. It's a little bit of fidgetiness. It's the palms facing you, which is kind of a self-protection, as opposed to your palms outwards. Every time I'm talking to someone, I try and show them my palms. It is to showcase a level of transparency. All of those methods you can employ when you are cornered and potentially need to lie, which is what we've learned from this. And now, to finish it off, this next part is just fucking amusing. It is funny as, so I just want to watch it because it's hilarious.
Well, actually, how old are you?
I've always been raised as being currently a 26-year-old.
How old are you?
Well, I live knowing, as I've always known, that I would be 26.
Okay, Bill.
This
This is a really, really simple question. How old are you?
I believe that I'm 26.
And?
I have two birth certificates, and I've had my name changed 4 times. The identity crisis there is big, but that was my normal when I was growing up, Tara. That
What do you know the truth to be now?
that's probably a question that we'll have to keep digging for, because it's not something I've ever understood or had answers around.
So when you needed to file some financial documents, how did you choose the birth date you gave, if you don't know?
With my most recent deed poll paper, which has the younger of the age and the most recent of the name.
Right, so currently, then, according to those documents, you're 23.
Correct.
Oh, that's got to be the funniest 30 seconds of an interview that I have seen in a long time. And even then, when it is just batshit, absolute crazy nonsense, she still says, I believe I'm 23. How old are you? 26, 23? I don't know. I'm 23 and 26. Ah, that is hilarious. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.